Okay, let's start. I told everybody to come in with their coffee and their chocolates, but when I saw what was outside, that chocolate machine, I nearly didn't come back myself, so I understand why people are taking time to come back. That chocolate machine is very tempting. All right, let's do this. This is the last session of the IDD 2018, and what a great way to end these 2 days. We have a very, very, very, very special session, and it will follow a very interesting format, but I'm not going to talk about that. And it's entitled, Let the People Talk, Listening to the Voices That Matter. And we're going to hear many different voices. Come in, everybody. Come in for the last panel. Right, I think everyone's here. Okay, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to the moderator of this next session, Miss Barçın Yinanç, opinion editor and columnist at Hürriyet Daily News. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, UNDP Regional Hub, for making me part of Istanbul Development Dialogues. Now, the last panel is always the best panel, right? Well, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But I promise this is going to be a different one in terms of format. And it's going to be one of the most interesting ones as well, because I know it's been a long day, you have received a lot of input, but in our panel, and you have heard about the representatives of the international organization, non-governmental organizations, whereas in our panel, we will be talking to the individuals themselves. We will be talking about individual stories. Now, you know, sometimes we will be hearing from people who are making part of the group with vulnerabilities. They are people who are potentially the ones who could be left behind, but thanks to their efforts, they are not left behind, and thanks to their efforts, they're trying so that the people like them are not left behind. They are sort of an army on their own. But before going to them, I'd like to draw your attention to two things. I've told you this is going to be a different panel. We're going to have a quiz during the panel. But for the quiz to work technically, I need especially those who are living in Turkey to switch their Wi-Fi networks to their mobile data. In other words, instead of using the Wi-Fi of the conference, please use your Wi-Fi of your phones, because if everybody uses the Wi-Fi of the conference, then there's a problem, maybe the quiz might not work, okay? I will remind you this. Second, one of our speakers will be speaking Turkish, so make ready for your handsets. Now, let's go to my first speaker. As I said, these are individual change makers, and sometimes they are people who are sitting just next to you, and one is sitting right there, over there, and his name is Timur Abdullaev. He's an HIV and TB activist from Uzbekistan. And well, Timur, let's start with you, and let's start with what has changed for you in the course of the 10-15 years during your journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, this is not a dialogue, right? Let's do it the African way. You know, in Africa, when someone says good afternoon or hello, everybody says hello. This is the right interaction. So, hello. Oh yes, awesome. I love you guys. I'm so sweet at the beginning because of that chocolate and strawberries. I mean, seriously, I'm rethinking right now what I was going to say, because seriously, just the amount of sweetness in myself is just going up. Anyway, so my name is Timur Abdullaev, and yes, before I had strawberries, I was Timur the Headache Abdullaev. Now I'm sweeter. I have been living with HIV for 12 years now. I had TB twice. TB is tuberculosis, for those who don't know. And that thing wanted to kill me. It didn't, so it made me stronger. I was lucky. And actually, that's one thing I want to say. I was privileged. When I was diagnosed HIV positive, I had education, I had a job, and I was not part of any high-risk group, like the typical vulnerable groups or at-risk groups who usually are considered to be the usual ones for being HIV positive. So, and I wasn't a woman. I'm still not a woman. I think it will stay like this. So I was really advantaged. And I was not a typical person living with HIV and the person affected by TB. So if I have to answer the question what changed to me within past 10 or 15 years as a person living with HIV and affected by TB, well, if I speak about like personal perspective, then like we are speaking about MDGs and SDGs, right? That conversation is like asking a penguin the difference between Kyoto Protocol and Paris Climate Accord. The penguin will not be able to tell you the difference. So for people living with HIV, like MDG, SDGs, sorry about guys from China, it sounds Chinese. They don't understand it. So a person living with HIV just doesn't get it. It's not relevant. So I will not be speaking as a person living with HIV, even though I have to say, if I was diagnosed just a few years before, if I was diagnosed HIV positive like in 2002 or 2003, which is exactly like 15 years ago, I would probably get a death sentence. There was no treatment, and I would probably just be doomed to pass away quickly. I was lucky. I was diagnosed when there was access to treatment, and it has to do with MDGs. It has to do with the Global Fund, which came into existence just in 2002. The work started shortly before. The Global Fund gave treatment. I didn't know that when I was diagnosed. So by the time I came to my doctor, I thought like, okay, I have like 3 years. I had a perfect plan what I'm gonna do within 3 years so that at my funeral people are crying and they say how bad it is that Timur is no longer with us. And then I come to the doctor and doctor says like, we have treatment. And people live with treatment for 10, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And I was like, oh, fuck you.
Beep.
I have a plan. I have a 3-year plan. Now you're making me change my plan, right? And the thing is, it happened actually, I learned later that it happened to many other people. They thought they were going to die, so they spent everything. They had no pension, no savings, and then treatment was there. What I said, they were saying really. So the thing is, MDGs did affect my life. And there was some things about like moving from MDGs to SDGs. MDGs were more like disease oriented. And I have to say I'm not really a fan of this exceptionalism, HIV exceptionalism. I really prefer like this broader context, speaking about health, not one disease or another disease, but speaking about health. This is what we actually are fighting for. The thing is, as we moved from MDGs to SDGs, I started noticing, as an activist, not so much as a person, I started noticing that resources are going down. And what it means, for some countries, it means actually going back. Because they stopped having the amount of resources they used to have. They could not afford the level of accessibility of treatment and diagnostics. So we see the epidemic going back where it was. And we thought actually it's gone. It's controlled now. So this is the kind of difference. Money thing is really important. I see it in UNDP. I work as a consultant. I'm not just an activist. Sometimes I wear another hat, which is a consultant's hat, and I see that the budget is going down. Does it help? No. Because UNDP is supposed to support organizations, and sometimes these organizations have hell of a money as compared to UNDP. How can like a poor organization support someone who's rich? It's just weird. If that works, well, guys, you're going to be in the Guinness Record Book. I was going to say something which is actually going back to our yesterday's conversation. Some of you were here yesterday, and I was speaking about the mindset. So I see that some people left. They dodged this criticism, I would say. The thing is, I think this mindset, if we don't change it, we will fail. On SDGs, MDGs, ADGs, BDGs, whatever it is, we will fail. And the way, like if we really think that we cannot do this, it means we're saying we fail right now. We actually, if this is the attitude, we already failed. We don't need to wait to 2030. We already failed. We speak about leave no one behind, right? I had some feedback from some people in the room. I'm really sorry to say this. There was this really nice logic of saying, well, but it's still worth trying. We don't necessarily have to make it, but just by trying and hoping, we will already make the world better. Well, hell no. We have this thing, leave no one behind. So there are two options. Either we leave no one behind or we leave someone behind. So it's a best case scenario and the other case scenario. Plan A versus plan B. So to me, there is no plan B. It's only plan A, leave no one behind. We're committed to that, government's committed to that. So guys, if you don't believe, I'm just an activist, I don't care, right? I say whatever I think. You guys have the power to change the world, at least in this region. And if you don't believe that we only have plan A, no plan B, plan C or whatever, then sorry guys, but you shouldn't be in that job. Seriously. You're wasting the money that taxpayers are paying, that donors are giving. You're just wrong people for that job because it's really leave no one behind. I told you I'm privileged. There are people who are much less privileged than me. It's basically just a walking trouble. It's people having so many issues, and if we try and we hope and we do our best, well, some people will be dying. And I know I have to shut up, but I will shut up very shortly. I just have 30 minutes to say, and this is it. But the thing is, like, seriously, we cannot go for other options. We have to make it by 2030. We have to make sure we leave no one behind. Because everyone is a human life. Everyone is, there is no price tag to it. It's priceless. So how many people do we want to sacrifice by just being, we have to be realistic? Fuck that.
Beep.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Here I shut up.
Well, Timur, thank you very much. Well, that gives us plenty of food for thought. It's not as sweet as the strawberry chocolates outside. But thank you for being very precise and very clear-cut. Now, my second speaker will first introduce herself via a video, which I'm sure our technical desk will be having for us shortly. Yes.
Bir oğlum var. Biz savaştan kaçtık geldik. Çocuklarım babası Türkçe bilmediği için iş bulamadı. Çocuklarım aldı gitti. Yalnız kaldım. Türkçe öğrenmeye başladım. Hiçbir yere bırakmadım, çalıştım. Bütün fabrikalarda çalıştım, öyle sayacaksınız. Türkçe öğrendikten sonra biraz daha iyi oldum. Sonra SADA Kanun Merkezi'nde açtılar. Tercüman olarak beni aldılar. Gerçekten şu anda ayakta duruyorum. Yani çocuklarım doğru olmadığı için çok zor geçiyor ama kendimi iyi hissediyorum. Çünkü hiç kendime yalnız hissetmiyorum. Yani İl tarafında bütün memuller değiller. Hem abilerim görüyorum hem ablalarım görüyorum. Yani onlar Türk, ben de Suriyeliyim ama onlar zaten benim ailem oldular.
Well, please make your headset ready because Zireyk is a Syrian refugee. She lives in Gaziantep, but she has finally learned Turkish, so we're going to have our interview in Turkish. She's working for SADA Women Only Center in Gaziantep. SADA means voice in Arabic. It's a center that was set up by UN Women. It's a women-only center, the reason being that for women coming from conservative places, sometimes their fathers, sometimes their brothers or husbands, they don't let them go to places where there are male workers, and that's why the center is only a women-only center. And there, International Labour Organization is providing vocational training to Syrian women, and Nur is working as a translator, and I'm going to start by asking her what triggered her to become a translator. Nur, İstanbul'a hoş geldin. Bize şuradan başla önce. Nasıl oldu da çevirmen oldun? Çevirmen olmaya seni iten ne oldu?
Önce merhabalar. Sizin görmeye çok mutlu oldum. Ve çok özür dilerim İngilizce bilmediğim için ve size söz veriyorum. İngilizce öğreneceğim ve sizinle İngilizce konuşacağım.
Hadi bakalım.
Aslında Türkiye zor bir yer değil yani Suriye gibi. Suriye nasıl size söyleyeyim? Kadınlar bizde çalışmaya yasak. Erkekler bize bırakmıyorlar çalışmak için. Ve savaş başladı. Biz buraya geldik. Burada kadınlar çalışabilirler, çıkabilirler, gezebilirler. Bizde öyle bir şeyler yok. Burada geldim, gözüm açıldı. Türkçe öğrenmeye karar verdim. Hiç bir yere bırakmadım. Her taraf gittim, çalıştım. Bütün fabrikalar.
Bize şeyi anlatsana. Ne zaman karar verdin Türkçe öğrenmeye? Seninle arada konuşuyorduk. Bir hastanede galiba oldu, değil mi?
Annem bir gün hasta oldu ve hastaneye biz götürdük. Annem kötü bir durum oldu. Karaciğer iltihabı oldu. Ve orada bir Türkmen var. Tercüme yanlış ediyor. Ya ben de dedim abim böyle değil, annem ne hastalığı var biliyorum. Diyor susar mısın? Eğer susmayacaksın seni vuracağım, böyle el uzattı. Ben de hemen aldım, vurdum. Sonra valiz geldi. Elimden aldım. Sonra öyle dedim. Eğer Türkçe öğrenmeyeceğim o zaman size göstereceğim. Ve Türkçe öğrenmeye karar verdim. Öğrendim.
Nasıl öğrendin?
Sokaklarda öğrendim. Fabrikalarda öğrendim. Evet. Sonra çalışmaya devam ettim. Türkçe devam ettim öğrenmeye. Hiç yani zor değil. Aslında kim konuşuyor hemen elimde bir defter var, bir kalem var. Hemen ne diyorlar yazıyorum. Kim diyor manasını araştırıyorum, yazıyorum. Sonra
yani kendi çabalarınla öğrendin.
Evet.
Önce. Evet.
Hiç kimse öğretmedi. Kendime öğrendim. Sonra arkadaşlarımla öyle dediler. Bir eğitim var. İLO tarafında eğitim veriyorlar. Türkçe eğitimi ve meslek eğitimi veriyorlar. Arkadaşlarım söylediler. Çünkü bende çeviri çok var. Suriyeli arkadaşlarım. Eğitime gittim. Eğitimde orada Ayşegül Hoca, annem Ayşegül Hoca demiyorum. Ayşegül Çelaboğlu. Orada her zaman annem diyorum. Çünkü gerçekten çok benim yanımda durdu. Çok. Orada tanıştım ve Türkçe eğitim bize verdiler. A1, A2 verdiler. Ve sonra meslek eğitimi kuaför. Ben de girdim çünkü ben de kuaförüm. Suriye'de öğrendim bu mesleği. Çok severim öyle kuaför öğrenmeyi. Sonra Ayşegül Hoca her zaman...
Bir küçük soru. Sen aslında Suriye'de kapalıydın. Daha sonra açtın Türkiye'deyken.
Evet çünkü... Evet.
Şimdi kuaförlük de öğreniyorsun. Öğrendin.
15 sene önce öğrendim ama devam ettim burada.
Tamam. Hı-hı.
Evet, anneciğim sağ olsun her zaman benim yanımda durdu. Sonra Ayşegül Hoca çok bir şeyler kaydetmek için öğretti. öğrenciler nasıl kaydediyoruz, nasıl tercüman nasıl yapabilir, her şey öğretti. Sonra SADA Kadın Merkezi açtılar. Dedi ki, Nura sen tercüman yapabilir misin? Ben de dedim tamam anneciğim yapabilirim. Çünkü gördü nasıl ben tek başıma Türkçe öğrendim ve çok Türkiye içinde çok kötü günler gördüm. Gerçekten ya eğer anlatacağım yarına kadar bitmez. Sadece bizim erkeklerimiz, Suriyeliler ve Türkler cinsel olarak görüyorlar bütün kadınlar maalesef.
Cinsel istismarda bulunuyorlar.
Evet, öyle demek istedim. Maalesef öyle bize görüyorlar ve ne zaman Suriyeli kadın ve mülteci bir kadın gördüler demek kötü bir kadın oluyor. Ama bütün kadınlar öyle değiller aslında. Ama bilmiyorum erkekler maalesef bize niye böyle görüyorlar bilmiyorum. Şu anda SADA Kadın Merkezi'nde çalışıyorum. Ve inşallah eğitim devam edeceğim. Ve çocuklarımı burada getireceğim. Çünkü bende 4 tane çocuğum var. Size söyledim. 3 kızım ve 1 oğlum. 5 sene oldu hiç görmüyorum çocuklarımı. Çok özledim onlara. İnşallah Türk vatandaşlığı ne zaman aldım? Türk kimliği ne zaman aldım? Çocuklarımı getireceğim. Ve çocuklarımı okula götüreceğim. Doktor hepsine olmak istiyorum ben. İnşallah herkes çocuklarım mahrum kalmasın. Ve çocuklarım ne zaman burada geldiler. Doktorlar oldular. Bütün insanlara yardım edecekler. Çünkü annem nasıl bana yardım etti. Ben de şu anda insanlara yardım ediyorum biraz.
Nasıl yardım ediyorsun? Yani sadece çevirmenlik mi? Yoksa
çok.
Biraz kendinden anlatıp bir
evet,
model...
çünkü ben kötü günler gördüm anlatıyorum. Böyle siz yapmayın, böyle yapın. Böyle çalışmayın. Türkçe öğrenin. Madem siz Türkiye'de içinde yaşıyorsunuz, Türkçe öğrenin. Eğer en son yani bizim ülkemiz değil ve Türkçe dili öğrenmek gerekiyor. Ve her zaman öyle söylüyoruz. Türkçe öğrenin, burada yaşayın. Yani bilmiyoruz eğer Türkçe Suriye'de bir de döneceğiz, dönmeyeceğiz. Hiç belli değil. Sağ olsun hiç Suriye bırakmadılar.
Çalışma ortamınız nasıl? Yani uluslararası örgüt, sen ILO ile çalışıyorsun. Onlarla bir diyaloğunuz oluyor mu? Birbirinize şöyle yapalım, böyle yapalım diyor musunuz?
Yok, birlikte karar veriyoruz. Mesela biz bugün böyle yapacağız, biz böyle yapacağız. Ve eğer bir şey mesela elimde çıkmadı, hemen annem yanında gönderiyorum. Annem nasıl yaparız? Annem şöyle olur, böyle olmaz. Annem zaten bize söylüyor her şeye. Evet ve gerçekten yani çok teşekkür edeceğim anneciğim. Keşke bütün Türkiye böyle olacak. Çünkü Türkler biliyor musun? Herkes Ayşegül Çeleboğlu değil. Herkes Ayşegül Çeleboğlu değil. Ne zaman öyle Suriyeliler ve mülteci kadınlar gördüler demek kötü bir kadın ve kadınlar kötü değiller. Ve öyle istiyorum. Bütün kadınlar Türkçe öğrensinler ve çalışsınlar. Ve hiç kimseye ihtiyacı kalmasınlar. Ve hamdlar olsun şu anda ayakta duruyorum. Ve insanlara yardım ediyorum. Ben ve anneciğim.
Yani bir anlamda sen de sadece çevirmenlik yapmıyorsun. Onlar için bir örnek oluyorsun.
Tabii örnek veriyorum ve ben de kuaförüm ya. Hem çeviriyorum hem de öğretiyorum meslek. Kimseye ihtiyacı kalmaması için.
Peki. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz.
Rica ederim.
Şimdi, now, thank you very much. Right now we're going to have our quiz. So I'm going to ask all those present here to go in their mobile or laptops to Kahoot.it. It's KAHOOT.it. Now this is going to be a challenge for me technically. This is going to be a quiz. We'll see who will be the winner. I'm sorry, the winner is not going to receive any check, but maybe a little kiss from me, I don't know. If you have entered, you're going to see the PIN code. You have to enter that PIN code. And then you're going to have a nickname. All right, put your name, whatever, so that we know. Oh, we already have players. Nico, Guzin, MBT, Mehmet, vay, Helena, Manal, Right, okay. Now, may I ask you, those participants, please be with us until the end of the quiz. Otherwise, it's going to take us too long time. If we have 25 players, if only 24 answers one question, it's going to lag us behind. So for at least 10 minutes, cut your contact with the rest of the world. Don't pick up your phone. Don't look at your WhatsApp. Just focus on the quiz. We need all the players to answer each question in order to go to the next question, okay? Wow, 73 players already. Is that enough for us to go ahead? Okay, last calls. More to join? All right. More. Okay, so we're starting. Okay, the first question. The ratio of female to male enrollment in tertiary education is highest in. Please click on the shapes. The ratio of female to male enrollment in tertiary education, tertiary, do I say it right? Okay. Is highest. Is it Tajikistan, Montenegro, Albania, or Armenia? Okay, we have already 71. How many participants we had? 78, right? 75. I need one more. No, we have more players. 80, 82? That's more than our players, is it? I've told you the last panel is the best panel. Okay, under normal circumstances, we're supposed to, okay, and you have the correct answer. It's Armenia. Well, it seems some have clicked for Montenegro, but it's Armenia. Okay, let's go next to the next question. So we have already on the scoreboard, we have Özge, Gökberk, Bülent, Timur, someone. Okay, let's go next question. In 2014, the life expectancy at birth for women was lowest in Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. In which of these countries in 2014 the life expectancy at birth for women was lowest in? I need, I think, 2 more answers, yeah? Okay, so the answer is Turkmenistan. And we're gonna see Özge is heading, followed by Helena. Where is someone? Someone is gone. Okay, we have instead Nico and Leva. All right, let's continue. How many deaths per year globally are a result of exposure to outdoor air pollution? So you have the numbers there. How many deaths per year globally are a result of exposure to outdoor air pollution? So how many people, how many millions do you think are dying because of air pollution each year around the world? One more, yes. And the right answer is 3 million. And well, the audience didn't perform so well in this one. So Fulya is heading with Özge following Helena is still in the race, I see. Okay, let's go to the next question. Which sustainable development goals and their related targets have direct and indirect reference to social protection? That's a technical question for me. I'm passing this one. I'm not playing, but still. Which SDGs and their related targets have direct and indirect reference to social protection? Timur, are you playing? Okay. Aha, the answers are slow in coming. It was a difficult question, perhaps, huh? I need more. Come on, decide. Otherwise, you're going to be late for the closure. Decide. 81. 2 more people. Decide. At the end of today, you're just going to miss a kiss from me. It's okay if you lose, you know. All right, so it's all of the above. Well, you know, in such questions, you know, somebody told me if you do not know the answer, just tick all of the above. It's not a bad trick, huh? Next, so we're going to have those who have answered correctly. Let's see. It's Fulya. Someone is back with us. The YC is sticking as well. We have Manal on the second place, I see. Next question. Question 5, how much of all wealth created in 2017 went to the top 1% of the society? So how many people, these numbers, is it 82% who have created wealth that went to the top 1%? Is it 7%, 50%, 32%? Oh, the answers are coming quite fast. I need 3 more answers. So it's 82%. That's quite a striking figure, isn't it? And let's see. And the audience knew it, actually. It's a good performance on the audience. So Fulya is leading. It looks like it. Someone is gone again. We need you back at the race. We have Nico still there and Bunny on the second place. Okay, let's see with the other question. How many people are living with HIV as of 2017 in Eastern Europe and Central Asia? The region is Eastern Europe and Central Asia. How many do you think are living with HIV as of last year, 2017? Out of wishful thinking, I would have put the lowest one, but let's see. Remember what Timur had said. Timur, this is a home, you shouldn't count here, right? Okay, one more answer. It's 1,600,000. So relatively, it's relatively low. But if you have listened to Timur, there will be, I think, another question that might come as well with that. Okay, and well, the audience hasn't performed that bad. It's equal. And we have new competitors coming. Let's go on with the other question. Let's do it a little bit quicker, yeah? Otherwise, we're going to be late. Which population group in Europe and Central Asia is least covered by social benefits? Are they mother and newborns? They are least covered by social benefits. Are they unemployed people? Or are they persons with severe disabilities? Are they older persons? This is the group who are least covered by social benefits in Europe and Central Asia. Eyvah. Okay, I'm quite satisfied with the performance. It's rather quick. If we can do it under 60 seconds, it's great. So we could be on time. Otherwise, I have to have sprint. Okay, so it's the unemployed. The unemployed are the least covered by social benefits in Europe and Central Asia. And 30% of the audience have guessed it right. And let's see who have done well. Lif has done well. Nico is back on the race. Let's go to the next question. Which region didn't achieve MDG 6 and is the only region experiencing a rise in HIV prevalence? Which region didn't achieve Millennium Development Goal 6, which ended in 2015, and is the only region experiencing a rise in HIV prevalence? Prevalence is the correct pronunciation? Prevalence, okay. So is it Africa, where we see a rise in HIV? Is it Latin America, Asia Pacific, or Eastern Europe and Central Asia? You don't talk to each other. Put it your own answers. All right, it's Eastern Europe and Central Asia, basically. It's the region we're talking about, right? And remember what Timur has said, you know, it's relatively low, but there is this high tendency of going up. Let's see, okay, we have Timur right now heading the race. Lif is on third. We have a new one, I guess, Big G and Vizin. Okay, Julia is also in the top 5. Let's go next. Question. On average, globally, how many more times do women perform household work than men? On average, globally, how many more times do women perform household work than men? That's an important question for me. I'm a very gender equality sensitive journalist. I try to cover gender equality issues in my newspaper. And I'm very happy that in my house, my partner is very good at cooking, for instance, which I'm very, very bad. I could be a good quiz manager, huh? A new job for me. Okay, I need some more answers. So actually it's 2.5 times more. And most of you said 5 times more. So, you know, maybe the reality is, you know, better than you thought. Let's see. Well, Timur is heading the race with Big G and Vizin on the top 3. Let's continue. What percentage of the world's population lives where air quality exceeds World Health Organization guideline limits? It means, in a way, sort of what? Negative. It's bad. Bad. I mean, the amount of population that has living in polluted environment with air pollution. No, the amount of people which lives with air pollution, basically, who couldn't make it with the World Health Organization standards. In a way, how many people are living in air polluted areas? I need more answer. 3 more. 3 more person is left. Okay. Well, it's 92%. Yep. Yeah. Only 8% is sort of living in a space which conforms to WHO standards, and yeah, that's Well, that's not a very positive note with which we finish the quiz. Now, who's going to get the kiss? Let's see. All right, Timur. Well, first of all, I have to thank the audience for being so much punctual and for having attended the quiz in due time. Thank you very much. Mwah. Mwah. Okay, now our third speaker is from Serbia. How is the air pollution in Serbia? Huh?
The second question is...
May I have the microphone for... Yes, okay. Our third speaker is Dushan Yovanovich. He's a social inclusion expert with a focus on Roma people. He's from Serbia. And, okay, pass the question on air pollution because we're running out of time. So, Dushan, tell us about your work and tell us what can be improved and changed in terms of the policies and local levels.
What is estimated number of Roma people living in Western Balkan country and Turkey? That's question.
Give us 2-3 options at least. Okay, give us
1
the
million,
answer.
1 million, 2 million, over 3 million. 3.5, yeah, thank you.
The right answer?
3.5 million. That's estimated number of Roma from Western Balkan countries and Turkey. Thank you for the opportunity to participate. Finally, I think I'm not the last speaker. It would be one more. Congratulate to UNDP for very well organized this event, and thank you all. With a lot of different speakers and methodology and issues. My name is Dushan Yovanovich. I'm from Serbia, working more than 15 years on social inclusion issues for the OSCE mission to Serbia, UN agency, government, and etc. That's the main questions, and usually when we are trying to discuss about Roma inclusion issues, how many Roma? It's I think 4% of total population in Western Balkan countries and in Turkey. We had, particularly in Western Balkan country, different initiatives such as the Decade for Roma Inclusion, EU accession process, and other political issues in order to put Roma inclusion issues on the agenda of government. We are trying to do many things and to improve situation, and now we can say that we have declaratively committed government to work on social inclusion issues. All government in Western Balkan countries adopted the strategy for social inclusion of Roma, working, trying to improve situation, etc. Many of the strategies are according to international policies. SDGs also are incorporated in some of the strategy. And what is very important? It is important now. We are in the stage that after 10 years of the experience, now we have very well educated people with university background, master and PhD, and ready and stand ready for their opportunities. I had the opportunities 15 years ago. I'm a member of Roma communities, and now I'm able to share that idea as a person, but also as a consultant working on the many different programs. What is important? Important is to include the Roma people, not just declaratively, through the strategies, through the SDGs, through the different strategies, but really to become the part of the organizations, institutions, and the companies. Mr. Svilanovic also mentioned that about Balkan Barometer, speaking about its assessment done by RCC, and also there is one data about discriminations. And if we are talking about that, more than 55% of the leaders of the companies would not hire Roma. And that's the official number. I'm thinking about the others 45%, are they really would like to employ Roma. So that's the idea of full participation of all vulnerable groups, particularly Roma. It's very important. That's the questions and what the UN can do. The next year I would like to see in the panel representatives of the Roma community working in different UN agencies, leading the programs for Roma inclusion, discussing these issues. That's the idea. Really to try to improve it and to change that level. Because people are really tired, and of course it is important to do many things, but that's crucial.
Okay, and maybe can you also talk about on the local level, you know, in the break we were talking how it's important also to have Roma people or awareness in the local administrations. You were giving an example from Serbia, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm currently working on the one IPA project supported by delegation of European Union to IPA 2016, implementing by standing conference on town and municipalities. That's association of all local self-government in Serbia. So now we are trying to do that actually, to put those policies on the national, international level, on the local level, and to prepare different Roma inclusion mechanisms. In Serbia, for example, we have more than 300 people working in local self-government every day in order to have better, to prepare better access of Roma to social services, health, education, etc. That's pedagogical assistants, Roma health mediators, coordinators for Roma issue working in local self-government. So 300 people now doing that. We are now in the middle, we are waiting the Roma International Day. It would be marked on 8th of April. First Congress was in 1971, I think, and in order to present particularly special focus of Roma community. And today, and in this week, and in 4 days, we will also mark that days. And 10 years ago, it was our vision to have 300 people working in the local self-government, really in everyday jobs in order to support the Roma communities. Today, we can say that now we have 300 people working at the local level.
Okay, Dushan, thank you very much. Actually, thank you very much for reminding us that April 8th, to underline it one more time, April 8th is International Roma Day. We have a sizable Roma community in Turkey as well, and in fact, we have a Roma parliamentarian in the Turkish parliament, and I think he is making a change. But we're going to have a Q&A session where you could always address your questions to our speakers. Right now, we're going to move to a colleague of mine, Jodi Hilton. Before that, let me just tell you that we, the newspapers, we're on a race of making the newspapers sell. But the other day, we had a briefing in my newspaper, and they were telling us, instead of writing articles, get videos, because the videos are much more viewed, and they replaced 1 million words. And this is the same thing with the photos. So we're going to have Jodi, who is a former contract photographer for UNDP, come up with a slideshow where her pictures and photos will place in place of 1,000 words. Jodi?
I think I have a microphone already on me. Yes, I'm wearing a microphone. Yes, very lucky. Well, I'm glad to get to have this opportunity to talk to you and to show the photographs that I've taken for the UNDP's Regional Human Development Report. And I'm also glad to have followed Dushan because he was talking about Roma inclusion. And my first story from Serbia is about exactly that. So this is, if we can go to the slides, yes. This is Floria and her infant Elvira, just 2 months old, living in a shack on the outskirts of Belgrade, Serbia. And she and her husband are both displaced people from Kosovo. Their families fled Kosovo during the war when Roma people were blamed and targeted by both Serbian and Albanian sides. Thousands of Roma escaped the country, and Floria was actually raised in an orphanage in Serbia until she fled at the age of 16. Let's see. Here we go. So she met and married Ali, who's 3 years her senior. He was raised in Germany from the age of 5, and he speaks German, Albanian, Serbian, and a little bit of English. He's finished school up to the 10th grade, but he can't work because he doesn't have papers. So from time to time, he does get jobs as a day laborer, working for about 10 euro a day, which is just barely enough for them to pay for the basic necessities of life. They have no savings, no safety net, and they face many, many difficulties. But the issue of being documented is the one that's creating most problems for them. And now that they're parents, they urgently want to provide a decent living for their infant daughter. And let's see if I can, here we go. So this is Ali's only document. It's his school ID from Germany. And he told me that he went to the German embassy to see what could be done about his situation. And they told him that he would need to do the necessary paperwork in Germany. But he can't go to Germany because he doesn't have documents. So these are the kind of situations that people face when they've been displaced, when they haven't been properly registered. And so what they did, sorry, hello, okay. So this is Ali and Floria meeting with a pro bono lawyer at Praxis. Praxis is an NGO that works with stateless people in Serbia. And they were advised that Floria might have a chance of getting her documents in the case that she was registered at her orphanage. So I went with them on advice of the attorney to the police station where they waited in line for several frustrating hours with the baby, only to be told that the police had no information. You know, I spoke with Ali recently. More than a year has passed, and they still have no documents. So it's a very frustrating situation. I just want to make the point that helping people like Floria and Ali to get registered is such an important step towards breaking the cycle of poverty, especially for the next generation. And including Roma in society, allowing them to work legally, is beneficial to the greater society as well. This is the next story that's called Welcome to Razlovci, the village missing a generation. And this is a story about youth unemployment, which in Macedonia is shockingly high at 50% for youth unemployment. And that trend is causing a lot of young people to leave the villages and try to find work elsewhere. So during the socialist period, this village prospered. And they were growing tobacco. There was work in a factory that produced carpets. But after the breakup of Yugoslavia, the factories closed, agricultural cooperatives were dismantled, and many people were left unemployed. So nowadays, many of the buildings are abandoned, collapsing, and others are starting to fall into disrepair due to lack of investment in a place where people see no future. Hello. Maybe I just have to press harder. So this bridge, which connects the village to the nearest town, is a vital link to the outside world. It was badly damaged during floods, and as you can see, it's totally warped. When I tried to cross it, I saw a sign warning drivers that the bridge was not safe to cross. However, every day dozens of people are using this bridge and taking their chances anyway in order to get to work or to school. Okay. So I just want to make the point that people have lived in this village for generations, but that's changing. It's not sure that these villages will last into the future because they're being so quickly depopulated. And here's Alexander in the middle. He's just 15 with his father, Wojciech, and grandfather, Georgi. Oh, do you think it's better here? Okay, great, okay. So high school students like Jovana, who's on the left, and Martina, they're both 18. They commute to and from school in the nearest town, which is 20 kilometers away. In their village, they just have a primary school. And after graduating, Jovana plans to immigrate to Italy, where she can join other relatives who are already working there. And Martina told me that she plans to work in a nearby town, trying to get work at a factory. The village has lost more than half its population since the 1990s. Most of the 700 remaining citizens are elderly. But one piece of good news, that bridge that you saw in an earlier slide has since been repaired, and that was actually a project of UNDP in association with the EU. Now we're in Kyrgyzstan. The story is called Rural Residents Cope with Water Woes. And for this story, I traveled to the southwestern part of the country near the border with Tajikistan, where 12,000 people depend on water delivered by arik. And that's these small open channels that you see in the picture. This is Anabar. She's a kitchen worker at the village school. And every day she collects water by the bucket to prepare tea for the children the next day. So she takes it back to the school and she filters it through cloth, and she does the best she can to make the water clean. But still, across Kyrgyzstan, 150,000 people depend on this kind of water system. This is a man clearing the arik near his house, and the trash and natural debris can contaminate the water supply, especially in autumn when leaves fall into the ariks. Animals also depend on ariks for drinking, but contamination by animal waste is one of the primary causes of waterborne illness. Here, doctors, oops, okay. Okay, it's all right. In the last photograph, doctors are conducting a health check on children at the local elementary school. But despite a program to vaccinate newborns, they see about 20 cases of hepatitis monthly. In the nearby hospital for infectious diseases, where I took this picture, I met about a dozen children being treated for waterborne diseases. In this region, hepatitis infections are twice the national average. And nationwide each year, officials record 30,000 acute intestinal infections, 24% related to parasites. In this village, the construction of a water treatment facility and proper pipes would mediate the threat of waterborne illness. For that reason, local authorities have been trying to raise the funds needed to qualify for matching grant in order to build the water treatment facility and install plumbing lines. But unfortunately, they only raised $12,000 so far. So for the moment, the project has stalled. This will be the last one. This is hope for women living with HIV in Ukraine. I traveled to Mariupol, the Ukrainian-controlled city closest to the front line, and there I met Yana, 38-year-old woman who's suffering from HIV-related spinal tuberculosis. And she lives with her mother and son, her husband, who transmitted the disease, died a few years earlier. Before the war, she underwent a series of back surgeries at the hospital in Donetsk. However, she says that she's not been able to reach the hospital for follow-up care since the war cut the country into two. Nowadays, she wears a brace and spends most of her time in bed. She can't sit up without assistance, and her situation continues to worsen as her spine begins to collapse. I also was able to visit the women's prison where I met Nadezhda left and Ludmila, and both are mothers of young sons. Both are former drug users, and both of them were diagnosed as HIV positive after participating in a voluntary drug testing program at the prison. They are among the thousands of prisoners across Ukraine identified as HIV positive. So, thanks to the early diagnosis, a free distribution of antiretroviral therapy, they are living healthy lives in prison. In Ukraine, UNDP is working on procurement of medicines to help HIV and TB patients live longer and healthier lives. Well, there's also another story from Armenia for next time, but I just wanted to let you know that the full photos and texts are published online at UNDP's Eurasia Exposure blog.
Well, thank you very much, Jodi. Thank you. All striking photos. This is the time for the Q&A. While I'll be picking questions, may I ask Mr. Ian McFarlane and Mr. Michele Ribotta to take the stage. Remember, we have three very important change makers in the room, a lot of other change makers as well. So this is the time you can ask questions. Any question? I see there's one. Can you raise your hand so that those with the microphone over there, please? I'll appreciate if you could introduce yourself and briefly pose your question. Thank you very much. Oops, microphone.
I'm a first-year undergraduate student in the International Relations Department. I wanted to ask a very general question, but as a university student, how can I contribute to the achievement of the goals? Yeah, that's it.
Any of our panelists, Dushan, Timur, whoever wants to answer, Timur or Dushan or Nur, who wants to answer? You want to go? Timur? The microphone over there, please. As a university student, yes, over there, the answer comes from here.
It doesn't really matter who you are, what you are. If you care, you can. So it's really looking for opportunities. And right now you're a student, you can become a volunteer, you can go to an NGO, and there's plenty of opportunities. It's really just, now it's easy, you Google. And you basically decide what exactly you want to do, who exactly you want to help. Because there are millions of people who need help. And then, as you advance your career, and I hope you will advance your career, it would be nice to have a caring person advance, you will be able to do more. I want to quote, there is this amazing quote saying, with great power comes great responsibility. It's from Spider-Man. But the thing is, seriously, with great power comes great responsibility. If you can do more, you have to be really responsible. So please do learn, please do progress, and then responsibly use whatever you can. Thank you.
Any questions? It's very important to have the awareness, obviously. Maybe a question from me to Dushan, because we've been talking during the break, you know, what are your advices in terms of, you know, she asked as an individual what I can do, but you're also bringing up advices to individuals as well in terms of how they should be, you know, in terms of social inclusion. Can you stand up if you don't mind?
Thank you. We talked about that. I mean, what can we do and how we can share responsibility. That was the idea of our discussion, and that was my idea when I say I would like to see the next year the people who are talking about it. It means that we should share responsibilities, that today we can do some small things, it's not something huge and big, but tomorrow, and you probably, and the others could be, and will be able to do some big sustainable things and changes. But today we can do small. If it's related to social inclusion, you saw different initiatives, pictures, data. For example, if you are an economist, I can say that my country, Serbia, losing 231 million euros every year because of social exclusion. If you are a lawyer, there is a need to support people in order to have personal documentation and other things. If you are a doctor, there is also a million things that you can do for them, not just for the Roma people, but for other vulnerable people. 15 years ago, I also started to work in a small NGO with a couple of my colleagues. And in that period, it was, how to say, very difficult to have any extra budgetary funds. And it was one of the first projects after 2000, after Milosevic, that we actually had the opportunity to work directly with European Union, at that time with European Agency for Reconstruction, and to do some things for education. It was a program, Let's Education Lead You Toward the Target. That was our vision. So everyone can do something every day to discuss with the people, to explain and different perception and how and which the way and how to do it. So.
Thank you. Any question? No, I'm going to ask you a question. Can I? Oh, you want to? Okay, let me just. Oh, no, we have a question from here. Sir? Is it working?
Yes. My name is Ben Chirwa. I'm from Zambia, visiting my wife, Rosemary Kumwenda, UNDP. My question is, Tim, you talked about declining funding from the Global Fund, the Development Aid, and other funding organizations. How is the UN and others responding to this? How are you filling the gap? And how are countries responding in terms of domestic funding in order to deal with the declining funding?
Actually, I was going to ask the same question to Timur. You said, the resources are going down in UNDP. We need to increase resources in UNDP. But UNDP, it's you, me. In a way, it's my government, your country, my country, the Brits and the French and the Africans and the... they are the ones who have to put the money there. What to do? What's your solution? I mean, it's nice to just say, okay, make the alarm, but we need to provide some solutions, And right now, we need a microphone if we need an answer. It is working, right? So every government is short on money, on resources. Maybe UNDP is not, showing enough of what it's doing, etc. Maybe we need more promotion of what UN is doing. I don't know. Tell us.
I can say that I have many caps and many hats, and one of them is I'm a speaker of so-called GFAN Speakers Bureau. It's a Global Fund Advocates Network. It's basically an NGO-led project which is there to support the Global Fund, mobilize resources. And basically the thing is the idea is very simple. Take people like myself, because my message is easy and simple. Without Global Fund, I would not be here. I would be 9 feet under. And basically, let us talk to the donors. Just paratroop us to those who have the money. And believe me, there are lots of examples when that works. There are a lot of, like yesterday I had this question to one of the people from the financial side, like what works best? Like what is the strongest argument that would make you give the money. And the thing is, yes, there are priorities, like if you speak the language of the priorities of that donor, it's easier. If you say like every bucks you spend, you get 40 bucks return, like or save, or basically like by treating someone today, you avoid like thousands of dollars of losses tomorrow. The thing is, sometimes it's as simple as that. Take someone who's a living example, who's a breathing person. And the difference is basically like, okay, so for example, what the Global Fund did for me, what MDGs did for me, the difference is 9 feet. It's either I'm here or in a cemetery somewhere in Uzbekistan. And there are millions of people saved. So you definitely can find, yeah, I'm an asshole, but there are many people who are nice and who are touching, and you know, and people cry when they hear their stories. And why UNDP is not doing that? Why we're not just sending the people who UNDP helps? There are thousands of people like that. There are projects all over the region. There are people who wouldn't be alive, who wouldn't be breathing without what UNDP is doing, without what other UN agencies are doing. So just show donors those faces. Show their stories, like the photos we saw. These are the real life stories. Numbers don't speak that loud. We say millions, you know, when I speak TB and HIV things, and first of all, nobody calls people people. They say cases, cases, cases. The thing is, it's not cases. There is a real life behind each one number. So that would be one strategy that I would propose to UNDP to utilize. It's a best practice, it's a good practice, it's a working practice. And also, we can do the same with governments. We can talk to governments. That's actually, like, I don't care. I can talk to anyone. I go to, and I talk to ministers. That's my activism. On the one hand, I'm supporting other fellow activists. I'm mentoring them. I'm sharing my experience. I'm giving them some hints. On the other hand, I'm talking to ministers, to prime ministers, to members of parliament, to heads of agencies. And the thing is, if I was a UNDP staff member, I wouldn't be able to go to the director of the Global Fund and talk to him unless I was the highest level official of UNDP. But as Timur, for God's sake, Abdullaev, I can go to anyone. Okay. I did talk to Mark Dybel, who is the former executive director, and I know personally Peter Sands, who is the current executive director of the Global Fund. Global Fund is billions of dollars. So why not do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Timur. All right, we're going to see to what degree your messages are going to go across. If there's no more questions, I'm going to be giving the floor to Mr. Ian McFarlane, who is the Deputy Regional Director of the UN Population Fund, and Mr. Michele Ribotta, who is the Deputy Regional Director of UN Women. Basically, we're going to have your reflections over what you have heard from the audience.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and it has been a wonderful session. I think you said at the beginning it was going to be the best session. I think the format and the energy, I think it's fantastic. My recommendation off the bat is that we start our dialogues with this kind of session. I think it's really important to hear the voices, to not leave people to the end, to the last, but actually right full and center from the beginning. In the first panel, involve people from civil society. My own organization, the United Nations Population Fund, is not perfect in that regard, but I think we and other agencies are making a bit of an effort. But I think that's my first point from the session. I've got 4 other quick points and reflections, and then Michele will add his own perspectives. And our role is not to comment really on the stories, which have been wonderful and powerful, but just to tease out perhaps some of the themes that strike us and provide some opportunities for moving forward. So my first reflection is to do with the use of data. I know people speak louder than statistics, but statistics also help a lot. Dushan mentioned it in his remarks. We used it in the quiz. Data does actually make a difference in terms of if we have the disaggregated data for different groups, we have a powerful case to argue. I think that that is one of the themes that I would pull out from the conversation. We have a great opportunity in all our countries in this region and globally in the next couple of years, because the next round of the census will start, the 2020 round of censuses. That means that all countries in the world will start to look at their population and do the population census. And there are methodologies to make sure that that data is disaggregated, which will be powerful in our arguments with national counterparts. My second reflection is, you raised it, Barçın, several other colleagues mentioned it. It's about the inclusion in local and national policy-making processes. And I think that links to the resources question too, because I think that if we can use data and analysis to convey powerfully to governments the need to look at allocating resources to those who are left furthest behind, I think that that can be a pathway to increasing resources and attention to these issues. There is a phrase or a quote that I've heard before, which is "nothing about us without us," which speaks to the point that really we shouldn't be deciding the budget for young people without involving young people in the conversation. We shouldn't be deciding that dramatic figure about unemployment. We shouldn't really be talking about social policies without talking to people who experience it in real life. So that's my second point about the inclusion agenda at all stages of the policy-making process. I think my third point is a reflection on individuality and human rights. There's some very powerful individual actions that have been taken by the people who told the stories. You know, what Nur has done is impressive. What Timur has done is impressive. And those individual actions are part of a bigger story. But I speak to the issue of human rights, and I think individual human rights are a very strong way for us to move together through the SDGs to achieve the goals that we need to meet. Just one point I wanted to make about the 1.6 million. It's not low, and it's unacceptable.
I said relatively.
It's relatively low, but I think...
I did use relatively.
I think that's what we often do, and it's not a direct criticism of you. I want to pick up on that notion that we are talking about, if we're talking about individuals and we're talking about leaving no one behind, we really do have to pay attention to relatively small groups. There are fewer people who are living with HIV than are over 65 in our region. But precisely by going furthest, we actually manage to help everybody. So my apologies if I sound as if I'm making criticism.
No, but I'm going to be very careful.
It's a good point, I think, to pull out furthest behind are not necessarily the biggest groups, but we have to aim for that. My last point, is to do with the power of storytelling and pictures. And the way this session was conducted, I found very compelling. I noticed when we played the game, the energy level in the room dramatically changed. As human beings, there's a limit to the number of panels and documents and plans and conferences, in a way, that we can actually absorb and use to change our world. And a picture, like some of those pictures that Jodi showed us, or the video that Nur showed us, they really can change people, and the SDGs is about massive change for transformation in our societies, and it needs that kind of storytelling that touches the human heart, that says why, and then we can move to the how and the what. I found it really inspiring. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to offer my reflection.
Thank you very much. Michele.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me. So, when I was asked to help sort of wrapping up these sessions, I instinctively said yes. But then I thought to myself, this is not going to be an easy task for a couple of reasons. First, because I was pretty sure that those stories we would be hearing today would speak for themselves. So it's kind of difficult to add anything to that. Big risk being of sort of redundant and irrelevant, adding anything to that. The second big problem is speaking after UNFPA. I mean, on these issues, UNFPA and UN Women have been really much in sync and really speaking with one voice. So many of the things that Jan just said, I would have wanted to highlight. So really, a couple of things that I'd like to that struck me from this session is that exclusion has, yes, the data question is indeed real, but I think that you know, it's again a reminder that exclusion has a human face. It has names and surnames, and I think that's a powerful message. I think also today we have sort of heard mixed stories about many of these stories of exclusions. They can be overcome, but especially through the sort of the quick photo show, we know that we haven't been able to kind of bring up to scale the response, and that there are still a lot of stories, still a lot of sort of human beings, women, men, girls and boys, the elderly, that are still in search for solution. And also I think that one of the things that we learned from today is that exclusion, discrimination rarely has just one explanation and one condition. It's rarely caused just by one condition. So there is a lot of factors and conditions in people's life that actually sort of add together to take them off to take visibility off of them, and this is a problem that we should be able to address. In any case, I think, you know, I was just thinking, the year I was born, John Lennon released the song "Give Peace a Chance." And although it pains me that so many years after this was released, you know, the title of the song is still so relevant. If we were to retitle the song, we would probably, you know, sing it like "Give People a Chance." I think when you give people a chance, when you give them voice and participation, great things can happen. And some of the stories we heard today are here to testify that. I also think that one of the things that struck me today is that many times voice, agency, participation, inclusion, they can really help expand accountability. A few days ago, we were having a meeting and discussing about precisely how to promote holding decision makers accountable for their actions. And I think that some of the stories we heard today are really a great testimony of how, especially when voice is organized, when participation can become sort of organized, it can be really powerful to expand accountability. The title of this session is again very powerful. It puts together people and prosperity. I think they're really interlinked, and I think it's a great lesson for us, and it tells us that unless we are able to fundamentally address and eliminate inequality, whichever forms it takes, we won't be able to achieve the vision that we have set for ourselves. So let them, you know, let the people talk. The title of this session is very powerful. It could also be somewhat misinterpreted or misunderstood to say, you know, let them talk. Somebody else will do the business. I think we really have to challenge ourselves to say, yes, let the people talk, but, and this is especially for me a reflection as a UN worker, let the people talk, but are we as UN workers, as UN organizations, are we able to listen? Are we able to understand? Are we capable of understanding what is behind these voices? How can we actually turn these voices? I fully agree with Ian. I think the UN has gone a long way, especially thanks to technology and social media, to actually communicate and give a human face to the stories we work on. I think there is still an open question to the extent to which we are, as a system, able to sort of internalize and reflect these stories into the way we conceptualize our work, our substantive areas of work. We interact with our partners at various levels. Just to conclude, the document that brings everybody together, the UN Charter, begins with 3 words: we the people. As far as I know, those 3 words have not been taken off the charters yet, so we still got business.
Well, thank you, Michele. Well, I have to apologize. I had promised that we will end this session to the organizers, that the session will end by 5 o'clock. By 5 o'clock. I couldn't manage that, but please stay with us for the next panel as well, for the closing panel, because not only Ben Slay from UNDP will be talking, but also Mustafa Turan from the Turkish Foreign Ministry will be talking. I'm sure Ben is a great speaker. I know Mustafa is a great one because he's a classmate of mine from university. We studied together. I ended up as a journalist. He ended up as a diplomat. But before I give the floor and give the duty back to Maria, I'd like to thank my panelists here with me, the change makers from the UN, but I would also like to thank the change makers in the field, Dushan, Timur, and Nur. Thank you very much, the Technic desk. They have done a wonderful job. Also to our translators, but also to all the participants for not turning the squeeze into a nightmare for me, because I was a little bit afraid how it will be. So thank you very much for having stayed with us, and it was you who made the difference about this panel. And so we're back to Maria. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think no apology is needed for overrunning. It was such a powerful session. Thank you so much. A big round of applause to you. Really, really, really. And everybody that spoke, amazing, amazing. And I just want to say, what powerful storytelling. I mean, this is what I do for a living. And when you hear it, this is why I do what I do, because I'm moved by stories like this. Timur, you will stay in my mind. Also the lady that Goran spoke about. It is just, when you humanize, when you put a big problem and you put a face to it and you speak just human to human, that's how you get through. That's how you're memorable, and that's how I will never forget what was discussed here. So yeah, what a great session to end on. So this is goodbye from me. You can watch me on TRT World, wherever you are. We live stream. So yeah, www.trtworld.com or at Twitter, TRT World. I'm really plugging my TV channel here. And we're a new channel, 3 years old, and I'm very proud to be one of the faces, one of the anchors of this new channel. It's a great project. We cover great stories, yeah. And so, yeah, keep in touch. If you have any stories, let us know. We have a great team of correspondents all over the world tackling great issues all over, and it is really all over the world. It is a truly international television channel, so, get in touch. And yeah, I just want to also say one more thing about that storytelling, that why. The last speaker, I can't remember your name, I'm so sorry, I popped out for a minute, but the why is so important. When you have that big why, the how and the rest just come. And when you want to hook us journalists, that's what we want. We want to know why, We need to know why and so what? Why should I care? So always think that's how, when you want to get to us and put your message across, that's what the two things we care about. And of course, TV are their pictures. So yeah, so that's a goodbye from me. I'll wave at you from TRT World, from the TV. And I would like to say thank you very much to the organisers. It's been great. It's been such fun. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure you all have as well. But I do not want to steal the thunder and the goodbye, proper goodbye from our two closing speakers. For the closing remarks, first of all, we're going to have Ben Slay, who is the UNDP Senior Advisor, and I would like to give the floor to you. And then we have another speaker, and then that's it. We are done, sadly. Ben, I'm not going to shake your hand because I've known you now for 2 weeks. I will.
Well, thank you, Maria, and excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I would really like to speak briefly and say mostly thank you to lots of people, but first and foremost, thank you to you sitting in this room for coming here. We had almost, yeah, thank you. We had almost 500 people registered for the Istanbul Development Dialogues this year. That's roughly double what we had last year, and last year was much bigger than what we'd had before. And that's you. That's you deciding that it was worth it to come here, to participate in this, to hear what we and our partners would have to say, to see what this forum could bring. So as Cihan Sultanoğlu said in her opening remarks, we are on our way towards becoming the region's development Davos, but if that's the case, it's because you are making it possible. I think that one lesson I take away, and many of us would, I think, agree, is how important, in fact, partnerships really are. We can say that's a slogan, yeah, it's SDG 17 or something, but in fact, every time we would talk about the substance of the SDGs and sustainable development, we would see that it would really only happen through cooperation and integration and partnerships of different people, sectors, institutions. So we saw that, for example, while it might cost $5 to $7 trillion a year in investments to meet the SDGs, we also saw that it might generate $12 trillion of new business for the private sector. That's a potential partnership between the private sector, people with the money, and those who are at risk of being left behind. But we also saw that, in fact, neither the $12 trillion of new business nor the $7 trillion of investments in sustainability won't happen if governments don't play the appropriate role in helping to get the prices right, helping to get governance right, and helping to get innovation right. And there's lots of ways that it's the private sector working with governments, working with civil societies in that respect as well. The various panels and perspectives offered by the partners underscored that we are making progress on SDGs through the partnerships, but that challenges remain. Well, we heard from our government partners, for example, that indeed national development strategies are increasingly taking the SDGs on board, but there are huge challenges with regards to finance, because the government money and the ODA clearly isn't enough. We need more partnerships and interactions with the private sector, who pointed out that it is indeed profitable in many cases to invest in sustainability, but that more progress is needed because for many companies, sustainability is something that's still in the realm of PR and corporate relations and not yet at the heart of their business model. We saw through the power of youth and innovation and Professor Ang's lecture yesterday that traditional development paradigms are increasingly being challenged. But at the same time, new ideas and approaches to development are percolating out of social entrepreneurs from developing countries. And this is really where the future is. But most of all, we saw, and especially today in this last session, that it's about people. It's about people's hopes, aspirations, beliefs. This is what we really need for the hook, for the why, the who cares, the so what. And this is what I certainly will be taking away as one person from this. So let me conclude by saying there are a few people who deserve a special thanks, I would say, for the Istanbul Development Dialogues. First, we would like to very warmly thank our government of Turkey hosts and partners who have made it so comfortable and so possible and so productive for us to work in Istanbul. So our thanks go to Ambassador Turan, who will be speaking in a moment, as well as Ambassador His Excellency Ateş, who helped open the meeting. I would like to thank all of our panelists and our moderators who provided us with so many interesting ideas, such great food for thought. I would like to thank the United Nations volunteers who were generating summaries of all of the sessions and are in this way writing the first draft of the meeting report, for which I am most grateful. I would like to thank the interpreters who did a great job in seamlessly moving back and forth between Russian, English, and Turkish. I would like to especially thank our Master of Ceremonies, Maria Ramos. I will never look at TRT World the same way again, and I will be checking my TV guide to find out when, in fact, you are on, and I can see you continuing to enlighten me about the world in which we live. But I would also like to say especially big thanks to some colleagues from our regional hub that have been absolutely critical in everything that's happened. First, huge thanks to Nicolas Doualier and his communications team, who really were behind all of the wonderful videos and glitz and screens and the really eye-catching attractiveness of this year's dialogues. So I don't know if Nico's here, but I see other members of his team. So really, thank you so much for this. This was also a huge logistics effort in which many people from Yekaterina Panlikova's program support unit and Andrei Pogrebniak's operations team played absolutely critical roles in making possible, as well as some other people in the hub. But I would like to thank in particular two people that a number of you have had contact with. First, I would like to thank Ms. Asli Hakimoglu, who was in touch with you on logistics and making things happen. Asli, can you please stand up so that everyone can see you, who not be hiding behind the wall? Thank you, Asli, for everything that you've done. And I would also like to thank İlknur Kanbur, who also was communicating with many of you and was telling us always what was happening when. And last but not least, without naming all of the people, I would like to thank our UN partners from other UN agencies who took up the opportunity to work with UNDP on this. And it's really our dialogues, and if the SDGs are to happen, and I really want to do my best to be sure they happen without necessarily saying I'm sure they will. It will only happen if the UN is able to unify and integrate and take advantage of all of the collective skills and resources that we have. So really, thanks to all of you, thanks to us, and we'll look forward to seeing you at next year's Istanbul Development Dialogues. So without further ado, I would now like to pass the floor to His Excellency Ambassador Turan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben, for your kind words, and you saved me a couple of minutes by thanking all the people that who are behind this very inspiring meeting. At least for me, it was a learning experience. I've been working on these issues for a couple of years now at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, a country which is increasingly ambitious in its international development cooperation. I just realized that we have a lot to learn, more each day, and these last 2 days were 2 of them. I am the last speaker, so I seem to have a kind of a big responsibility to make it short, but also say something meaningful, which is a challenge for me. But to do that, I think I will rely on Maria's advice to talk about why and so what, especially personally for me, because I've listened all of what has been said, also not as a diplomat representing Turkey, but also as a person, a world citizen who is concerned about all of these issues. So right now, if you allow me, I will speak with that hat, the hat of a world citizen, if you will. So I'll just make very brief points. The first one is about urgency. Well, if we look at the state of the world, as we discussed throughout the 2 days, the world seems to be in a state of continuous structural crisis. If we continue the way we live, the way we produce and consume, the world will soon face with existential threats due to climate change, environmental degradation, and depletion of natural resources, especially water. If we cannot find the means to address extreme poverty, increasing income inequalities, and discrimination of vulnerable groups, deep-rooted grievances and unresolved conflicts will continue to breed instability and violence. Technological transformation, which has been talked about a lot during these 2 days, is sometimes perceived positively, but many times, consciously or subconsciously, we also seem to see a kind of a dystopian future. If you watch Black Mirror episodes, you will see some of those dystopian futures. Robots taking over and making us all useless human beings. So if the human being has the potential to dream, and we also dream these dystopian futures as a nightmare, why those nightmares do not happen? They do not happen because of our capacity to dream also about utopias, also about positive change. And I think the SDGs represent our shared sense of hope, our shared sense of utopia. There were questions, some people were questioning whether we can really achieve SDGs. And I didn't see many hands up when this question was asked. But that doesn't mean really we cannot achieve SDGs. As long as we shift our mindset and the systems in which we live, there is always a possibility. And that possibility is really the driving force behind all of our actions. In addition to all of this really challenging problems that we face, simultaneously there is a shift in our individual and collective consciousness, taking shape towards positive change. Advances in information communications technology and all of these exponential technologies, they connect and empower citizens by expanding opportunities for co-learning, collaboration, co-creation, and joint civic action. Young people especially, they are caring more than ever more than ever before for a meaningful purpose in their lives, besides their personal well-being. Empowered change makers, innovative entrepreneurs, provide solutions to societal challenges through the power of technology or innovative business models, some of which have been presented here. There was a representative of the private sector here earlier today who said, why shouldn't we make problems business opportunities? And he gave the example of climate change. And I think that's exactly what's happening simultaneously. Some people are smart enough, hopeful enough to turn problems into opportunities. So, purpose plus profits seem to be the future of business, which will transform our societies. Because private sector corporations tap into the potential of these emerging new talents around the world, thus creating the conditions and incentives for further change making. They empower them and create positive social impact. So there was one issue that really struck me during these conversations, which is being repeated over and over again, which is the question of governance. Yes, we are really advancing in technological and economic terms, but our governance structures are not catching up. They are lagging behind to cope with all the challenges that we face. This is not just about local, national politics, but it's also about global politics. And most of the governance structures are plagued by short-term thinking and lack of meaningful participation in decision-making, which was emphasized earlier as well. So why don't we also turn the opportunities that are created by the technological, developments to really find solutions for more participatory governance structures. When we do that, we will have a voice of the people. When we have the voice, we will start feeling the empathy towards one another. And when we feel the empathy, we will start trusting. Trusting the other citizens, but also trusting our leaders. So that will bring us to a possibility of collective action more effectively than ever. So if we can do that and collectively imagine a future of this sort, I think we will not only leave no one behind, but also no one will have to leave their homes for a search of a better life and a more decent life, which we all deserve. If we can do that, and I will show you something now, because I believe in the power of art and image. If we can do that, we can really tap into the potential of the inner child in all of us. Because that inner child has a different nature, which has the power to connect all of us together for collective action. If we can do that, I think SDGs will be just peanuts. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I suppose I better think of something. Guys, we've come to the end. One thing, goodbye. I feel very sad that this is ending. But yes, it's time to go home. I don't think normally people want to run away from conferences, but this seems like not the case. People want to stay. And I think this is a great testimony to everybody that's organised it and everybody that is here. So a big round of applause again to everybody. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to be here with you all. And just one thing, leave the badges in the box. We need to recycle. That's an SDG, I think. Well, one of them, yes, I'm sure. Okay, it's really goodbye now. I feel sad. But anyway, I'll speak to some of you later. And adios, bye-bye.